Okay. Well, I think we got a show because I like the CATL.
Yeah.
We could go with that. It's like CATL. Jeff, do you ever have any batteries that are like cattle?
It's like herding cattle.
It's like sometimes talking about batteries is like herding cattle. Yep.
Well, we could try that.
We can try it. Welcome to I Like Batteries, the show where we explore the world of batteries. I'm Mike Muldoon.
And I'm Jeff Lynch. Good evening, Mike.
Good evening, Jeff. It was going to be a good morning, and then it ended up being a good evening. It was one of those days where like technology and life were not cooperating, but we still made the recording. So that's what counts.
That's what counts. That's what counts. Yeah, I had a little technical difficulty with I think my hub, but we've resolved that by plugging my Audio-Technica microphone into the Mac directly.
Correct. And then you're good. Yeah. Yep. And and we're good. And believe it or not, we're really good because we're getting close to the end of the year. It's December as of this recording, and that means we've got a milestone coming up for ourselves in terms of how many years we've been doing the podcast.
We do, yes. This will complete our fifth year.
Fifth year. And theoretically, I would think we should get over 220 episodes.
Well, if we keep going, yeah, we'll definitely.
Which we plan to do, yeah. Which is good.
It's 219, so
yeah, exactly.
At least one more. Yeah, there'll be one more.
Completely. And also, I always want to give a shout out to all of our listeners. Thank you so much for listening to us. If you got all 220, that's awesome. Congratulations for doing it. And if you got one or two, thank you for listening. We appreciate it. Definitely joining us to explore the world of batteries. And sometimes when we explore the world of batteries, it's kind of like herding cattle, don't you think?
Sometimes it is like herding cattle, or herding a new era, maybe.
It could be a new era of batteries, and what we mean by this is when we started the show almost 5 years ago. About this time 5 years ago, we were talking about it. We didn't think there'd be different types of batteries that were kind of hybrid batteries. Maybe fill our listeners in what I'm talking about a little bit more.
Yeah, so there's a company that you may have heard of. It's a Chinese company called CATL is their acronym, and it's the Contemporary Amperex Technology is what it stands for. And they have what they claim to be a hybrid, the world's first hybrid battery. And what they really mean is it's a battery set up to effectively be charged by a generator while it's running.
Yeah.
And these are referred to as extended range electric vehicles, or EREVs.
Right.
There are other types of hybrid batteries or hybrid vehicles you may have heard of. There are the partial electric ones, right? There's those types of hybrids. And then there is the plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, which are PHEVs. We've talked about those before. But these EREVs are the ones like the BMW i3 had an option to their extended range version of the i3. Had a little 3-cylinder, I believe, combustion engine, which was a generator, which is different than a Prius hybrid, for example, which is a full ICE car with a full hybrid system attached.
Right.
Whereas the i3 was a pure electric drivetrain with a little bit of fuel and ICE backup.
Yeah, gave you a little bit extra range if you need. I don't know how big the tank was for that, but this company they're touting something else that I think is interesting. So, couple pieces of information. So they're offering a 248-mile pure electric range on this. But the other really interesting thing, Jeff, is that they're saying they have a 174-mile range on a 10-minute charge as one of the perks of this battery. And we were talking in pre-show, that's pretty big. I mean, that's a good amount of range to be able to get in 10 minutes, right? So you go in, you go to like a place, you go to maybe get a coffee, use the restroom, 10 minutes, you got 174 miles range. That's
pretty good, because they're like a lot of the current EVs on the market talk about either 10 or 20% to 80% of their capacity being charged in 20 to 30 minutes. So this is at least twice as fast, if not faster than that. What we don't have is information on this yet is the charge cycle count for this battery.
Yeah, I don't know what type it is. Yeah.
But we don't know. And they don't say.
No, we don't know.
We'll try to find out for next time or the time after that.
Yeah, completely. One of the things I want to go over, since we're hitting 5 years, right, is why not go over 5? We found an article that said 5 innovations. Now we're saying these may not be 100% innovations,
or at least in 2024, they're not innovations of 2024.
Yeah, and let me break down the list for you here, and we'll kind of go one by one here. Solid state batteries, lithium sulfur batteries, sodium ion batteries, large scale battery recycling, and modular batteries. So, Jeff, what do you think about solid state batteries?
Well, they're certainly not new as of 2024. We've talked about solid state batteries a number of times on the show, and they eliminate the liquid electrolyte, which is the separator material in a rechargeable battery. So this increases the energy density of the battery and also makes them safer, as we have talked about a number of times on the show.
Yeah, and we're starting to see those come out. In fact, we talked about one that was on Amazon. In fact, they had a Black Friday deal on theirs. I didn't pick it up just because I don't feel like I need a solid state battery right now. So don't need to go there with it.
I think you're well packed with batteries, as it
were. We're good. Yeah. In fact, I had the shed. I did warm the shed up this morning prior to leaving to make sure that the batteries could charge over solar. So it was above 41 degrees. So
nice.
The Wave 2 did a great job of that. But the next one that I want to look at and talk a little bit about is lithium sulfur batteries. Now, we touched on this a little bit, but the move away from, I guess I would say, cobalt added batteries has been something that's been going on for a period of time. And lithium sulfur batteries are definitely coming more to the market. And their big potential that they've had is they just degrade quicker than really even, to be honest, a lithium iron phosphate battery. So the deal with these particular batteries is they can withstand about 1,000 charge cycles. And I know you're sitting there saying, Mike, that's a good amount of charge cycles. They are, but if you figure a lithium iron phosphate battery can get 3,000, that's why they're saying more degradation that may occur with this.
Right.
That's why we have it. So we have yet to see this come out in vehicles. So of course, there is a company who I believe just fired their CEO. In fact, I believe that was today, who was supposedly going to be doing that, but maybe they won't be moving forward, with that type of battery technology. But keep your eye out for lithium sulfur if you hear it a little bit more. And part of the reason is, well, sulfur is pretty prevalent, and obviously it's a lithium-based battery. But the next one is not a lithium-based battery, and clearly it's an element that's can be a little salty. Would you agree?
We could get a little salty on this one. And it's sodium ion batteries is what we're talking about, where they don't have any lithium ions in them. They're a little expensive at the moment. They can recharge up to 10 times faster in theory and have 50,000 cycles. And one thing we missed about this hybrid battery from CATL.
Yeah.
So the hybrid part, so they support this sort of hybrid that we talked about with the energy backup of an ICE engine. But their hybrid battery is actually combining sodium ion batteries and cells and lithium ion cells in some combination and arrangement, and allows them to operate at lower temperatures as well. So there's additional innovation there that we kind of skipped over that I wanted to go back to briefly.
Yeah, but that's important. I mean, I can tell you right now, as I leave for work, I like to start my car, in terms of that, warm it up a little bit so I get in there. Also, defrost it. But it's also important for my car, since it is a hybrid, in that If I want to get some regen going into the battery, I need to get those batteries warm, right? Because they're not going to accept that charge if they're too cold. So having
you know how like Apple had the iPod socks that they sold. Maybe is there a sock you could maybe like warm your battery up with?
I think that's called a garage.
Or yeah, I suppose that would be
that's I think what most.
Do you have one of those?
I do, but we keep the other car in that one. Yeah.
See, so you could use
it's
one.
fine. Yeah. The other car really, I don't want to put that outside, but yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
But there too. But the sodium ion batteries, to me, if we're looking over the list, I'm actually more excited about those than solid state batteries coming into the mix, because I think if we got this right, part of it, we're taking the lithium out, right? Which is hard rock mining, the desalinization, I think it's difficult. I think the amount of the batteries that we're using for lithium that are in laptops, anything, right? Home-based, versus if we move these sodium ion batteries into EVs, these could be going for a long time. Because normally the rate limiting factor for most EVs, and we'd say maybe if you look at a 2014 Tesla, right, 10 years old, is that its range is good because the battery's degraded.
Yeah, but not as much. I mean, we talked about this. Not as much as people would have thought.
100% agree with you. But I'm just saying, like, if that was a sodium ion battery that was in there, then what's happening, right? And we don't know because they haven't really come to market. But that would be my part to say. In the next 10 years, right? Yeah, if you started putting this in there, what happens?
You would hope that when they say 50,000 cycles, that they're using the same implication of what a cycle is and what it means, and that when they say it lasts for 50,000 cycles, they're talking about it degrades to 80% of its original capacity. That's typically what we're talking about. When they talk about lifespan and lasting a certain number of cycles, it's sort of the estimated range to go from a factory capacity to 80% of that factory capacity.
Agreed. And I think that segues well into the other part, which is large-scale battery recycling. Because we do know there's a lot of EVs coming, quote-unquote, off the market. And you got to do something with these. And you're seeing a lot of innovation in terms of putting them to battery-attached storage systems that are out there for home use. You're seeing them being recycled, upcycled, so to speak, into new vehicles and whatnot. But we don't really have it streamlined yet. And I think that's where this is going to come to see. Like, where would you go if you said you wanted to take your Prius in to have to recycle that battery? Like, nobody really knows.
No, we call Matt and find out. I'm sure he knows.
Well, yeah, we could call Matt. Right? We have a hookup.
We got a guy.
I'm talking about our listeners and things like that. You wouldn't know. But that's the easy part. Is then we go to the next one, which is the modular batteries, which is what we love. I mean, if you look at our Ryobis, you look at all these other things. I mean, that's the best example, folks, if you're listening, to what that means, right? You're just taking a battery out, you're putting a battery in, and you're essentially swapping them. And we've talked about a bunch of companies that do this, say, in the scooter or realm, in the e-bike realm, in even kind of your larger even motorcycle realm. You're seeing that. But
there were some commercial trucks too, right? Didn't we talk about those too?
Yep, some commercial trucks. Yeah, and obviously there's not yet in the United States, there's some swappable batteries that are there in terms of stations you can put in. But I do think some modular batteries, and what I would foresee as being helpful is maybe you've got a battery rack in the car that's, okay, this is the main one that's 80%, right? But if then you could have 20% of it was modular, like maybe in the back that you could put them in, you'd swap those out and get yourself some quick range. But as in this article said, you could also have the ability to sit there and say, hey, I'll keep some in my trunk to then put into the car if I needed it and I started to run out of charge. It'd also be interesting with these modular batteries in the car to say, would it give you the ability that the modular ones would be used first so that the battery in the car didn't get as many charge cycles. Do you understand where I'm kind of going with that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that you could be able to do that. So that's what I think is interesting. So I do agree with this article. All of these are great innovations coming up. Obviously, we're a little bit more astute, I think, in terms of batteries and battery technology, maybe than your average person out there. At least I would hope so. So
yeah, we better be by this point.
Yeah, if after almost 5 years, but we know a lot more than we did back then. But you know what we didn't know a lot about back then, and I didn't know a lot about now, is we're getting into the holiday season, and it's nice to put your lights out there. And I plug my lights in outside, but I do have some battery-powered lights that are actually here in the office, here in the basement. I use that all the time. But I wasn't sure, like, do we have something for Christmas that we'd be able to use, Jeff?
There are some that we
There are.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we initially found some battery-powered ones, which got Mike and I on a little adventure of, well, there's got to be some USB-based ones out there. Mm-hmm. And, of course, there are.
Yes.
And so, because we like our battery packs, and Mike's had his plugged into a battery pack, and it's been days and days that they've been running. So,
oh yeah, half a watt an hour. That's all they
consume very much. So, we like these, and they're inexpensive, $10 to $20, and you've got some of them even have little remote controls that allow you to change the colors and make them flicker on and off, and all of the fun holiday things that you can do. I don't know if the $10 or $20 ones will pulse to music if you do that. But
that could be good.
There are some popular drive-by things that you can do. Like certain people in certain neighborhoods will, tune your radio to this, and you'll see the light show sort of.
Oh things. Yeah. These are cool. The one thing I would say about these, and I think they call them dazzle lights, or you see fairy lights or string lights with this, is that they do not use a lot of power. In terms of the fact that you're using about a half a watt. So when you plug them into a power pack, that's pretty good to be able to say. What I would caution our listeners, if you're going to go out and get these, you are going to spend a little bit more money. Like we said, we found some for $9, we found some for $12.99, we found some for $19.99. So you could get plug-in LED lights for less expensive than that. But really take a look when you see them of what the cable's made out of. That I would give you that just from my own personal experience, because some of these are made of like a wire cable, and if you put these outside, I really feel like that might not be the best one versus someone that are, I would say, like a coated cable that has a little bit more resilience, because with the amount of snow and ice and everything we get here in New England, I don't know if that I feel like that might make that exposed cable type a little bit more brittle.
I would think so.
Yeah. And if you wanted, Jeff, you could actually even get yourself a battery-powered tree.
Those are really cool. They're sold out, though, Mike.
I know. We were looking to get them. Little battery-powered tree for your desk that you can change the colors on. Gets the holiday spirit for you. If someday we get to be in the big time, we could have an I Like Batteries battery-powered tree that you could purchase on our store. That would be amazing.
That would be pretty cool. And you could buy more than one too. Like you could have a whole little forest on your desk.
This would be good. And then the nice part about it is you wouldn't have to worry about potentially like that tree catching on fire. That would be good.
This is true. And you don't have to cut one down with a little mini chainsaw or anything.
And you could use a solar panel to charge that battery pack, and then you could have essentially a solar powered tree.
You could probably plug it directly into the solar panel and have it work.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Although, it kind of defeats the purpose of, you'd have the lights on during the day, which most people have it on. You definitely need the battery.
Definitely the battery pack. Yeah. So folks, if you had anything that you were looking at, don't forget, and we failed to mention this sometimes. I realized that we've done this. I wanted to. You can always send us an email, power@ilikebatteries.com, about something that you were able to find or take a look at. So just a reminder, it's there. That's it. You help power the podcast. We actually have a couple things hopefully lined up for 2025. I did reach out to a couple individuals about some interviews, so we'll get back on some interviews for that. But For those of you that have been listening to us for multiple years, for those of you that have been listening to us for maybe a week or two, or maybe this is your first episode, we just want to reach out and say thanks. And, we hope you have a good week. Hopefully you learned something about some different types of batteries. And if for nothing else, hopefully you got fully charged, or at least 80%.
Thanks for joining us.